Welcome back to Miss Eddie's Math Movies, where it's a cute to be a square. Today we are talking about lesson 1.5, which is all about measuring segments. Here's today's vocabulary that goes with segments. A coordinate. You've probably heard of coordinates before from algebra, and it's the real number that corresponds to a point. So you've done coordinates before where you have to plot the coordinate 3, 4. This word coordinate should be pretty familiar to you. Distance. You've definitely heard the word distance before, right? It's how far you've traveled. In this case, we're going to call it the difference between the coordinates, or difference of the coordinates. And I'll explain this in one moment. Also, we're going to put the absolute value sign around this because distance always has to be positive. So let's say, for example, let's think of mile markers as coordinates. I'm at mile marker 3, and I run to mile marker 7. What's my distance? Well, 7 minus 3 equals 4. I used the difference. I used subtraction between the coordinates to figure out my distance. Length is another word for distance, also known as distance. You've heard all these words before. And we're going to review how you differentiate that from a segment in a moment. Between, all right, I'm just going to draw you a picture. A, B, and C. B is between A and C. Notice that it's a straight segment, though. It has to be straight. Congruent. You're going to hear this word a ton in geometry. And I want you to write the symbol. It looks like an equal sign, but it has a little squiggly above it. That is the symbol congruent, and we are going to use this the whole year. And congruent means having the same length, or the same measurement, the same distance. All right, so let's do a little bit of review here. So when I say this, you should think of that as a line. When I do this, you think of it as a ray. This is a segment. Now, if I put nothing above it, that stands for length. I'm asking you to find the length from A to B. So line, ray, segment, and nothing above it means length. All right. So, rule number 5 is called the segment addition postulate. So segment addition rule. It says if B is in between, then we can add these two little pieces to get the whole thing. So let's say I travel from A to B, and then from B to C. You could also say that I've traveled from A to C. That should kind of make sense in your head. So if we go from A to B and B to C, it's the same as going from A to C. The little piece plus the little piece equals the whole thing. Sometimes I use my fingers to represent this. A little piece plus a little piece equals the whole thing. And we're going to skip this. We haven't learned that yet. We're also going to skip this page and come back to it in class. So skip this whole page and go to example 2. Finding the distances on a map. It says use the map to find the distance from Athens to Albany. So Athens is here, Albany is down here. Looks like we're going to take a pit stop here at Macon or Macomb. All right, so if we go from Athens to Macon, that's 80 miles from A to M. And then when we travel from Macon to Albany, that's 90 miles. So how far have we traveled? Well, our segment addition says we can add the two little pieces together to get the whole segment. So 80 plus 90 is 170 miles total. So all the way from A to B is 170 miles. Now we're missing part of the map. So use the diagram to find EF. Well, here's EF. I don't know how long it is, but notice I know from D to E is 10, and I know the whole thing is 16. So some of you can do this in your head, but let's write it out. So I know that I can write these two together to equal the whole thing. So DF is the same as going from D to E and then E to F. Well, we know that DF is 16, and I already have 10 of it. So how much more do I need to get to 16? Well, if you subtract 10 from on each side, you realize that you need 6 more, because 10 plus 6 is 16. All right, now you are going to find the unmarked length. So in this example, you need to find how long AC is. And in this example, you need to find how long ST is. So go ahead and do that, and we'll go to the last page. Decide which segments are congruent. So remember, congruent means the same length. All right, so let's look here. DE, how long is DE? 1, 2, 3, 4. DE is 4 long. And then let's look at another way to do this is to look at which coordinate is changing. Notice we're going from negative 3, 3 to 1, 3. So the x coordinate is changing. How far is it from negative 1 to 3? So we can put that in here. We can go 1 minus a negative 3 is 4. So sometimes it's easier to count, sometimes it's easier to do the subtraction. So let's see how far it is from F to G. Well, let's look at which coordinate's changing. Negative 2, 1, negative 2, negative 3. The y is changing. So how far is it from 1 to negative 3? Well, we just figured that out. We already know that 1 minus negative 3 is 4. You can get the same answer by counting. 1, 2, 3, 4 long. These segments are congruent. They have the same length. So the lengths are equal. The segments are congruent. All right, I'm going to do number 7 for you, and then you are going to do number 8. So let's plot this. A is at negative 2, 3. So negative 2, 3. Here's A. B is at 3, 3. So we're looking at AB, so we're looking at this segment right here. And C is at negative 3, 4. D is at negative 3, negative 1. And we're comparing AB to CD. So there's your segments. Now we need to see if they're the same length. So you can either count or subtract. I'm going to do subtracting and then I'll show you the counting. So from A to B, let's look at what's changing. The x is changing. How far is it from -2 to 3? Well, that is 5. So AB, the length of AB is 5. Remember, nothing above this means length. How long is CD? Well, notice the x's aren't changing. The y's are changing. How far is it from 4 to -1? That's also 5. So these are the same. You can also get that by counting. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the lengths are the same. So we can say that segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Now you are going to do the same thing down here. Plot AB, figure out how long it is. Plot CD, figure out how long it is, and then ask if they are congruent. That's all for today. This is M Cubed signing out.